this is what is going on here. Um, hey, back here is the iPhone 15 Plus. Lovely that it can shoot as a webcam. Um, Inside the padded room, never before seen. I don't think I've ever done a video in here in 4 years and alive in five. So, anyway, this is where I sit most of the day when I'm recording. This is my Sennheiser MKH 416. Uh, Over there, out of sight and always working hard, my Mac Mini. My monitor speakers right here. Uh, Not one, but two keyboards. This one is running the navigation to the Mac, and this one is dedicated to, I don't know if you can see this or not. This one is dedicated to the teleprompter up there. No, it's not moving. I'm doing this all freestyle. Yeah, so far. So this is what I actually use as the teleprompter, or teleprompter controller, I should say. The teleprompter is currently a piece of software that is running on an iPad Pro that is through the ring light right over here. And there is the Panasonic Lumix G85 right there, right there. Nice little piece of glass on the end of it there. We've got a quiet fan over here, and ignore the mess. You know, there's a lot of stuff. There's cables in here. There's boxes in here. In here, there's a foam tile. There's acoustic sound absorption on the wall. There's all kind of things in here that make it takes it from a bedroom/office and gives me the ability to record inside a padded room. These are edge lights, one on each side, over here and over here. And of course, the ring light I showed you. A 27-inch Spectre monitor helps me out, keeps everything straight, hopefully. Hi, if you're joining me live here on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, it's Friday, October 3rd, 2025, around 4 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm in my padded room, my voiceover production studio. See, even on the intro, I goofed up. So I'm going to show you what I do when I goof up. And I'm going to go, this is, see, two keyboards. I have to keep reminding myself which one to use. This takes it back. And this, I don't want to speed it up. If you can see the words on the iPad behind the camera, it makes it look like I'm looking right. Yeah, okay. The trick here, just so you know, if you ever do use and make it go forward so I get up to the right place. If you ever are using a teleprompter with a camera, the trick or key that I've discovered, let me stop it right there, is the fact that you are just barely above the lens right here. Let me show you a little bit better here. Just barely above the lens right here on the camera and behind about a foot. So you're kind of blocking off the bottom of the words. Let me show you where I'm looking at. Blocking off the bottom of the words through the ring light. So that the light, I don't even see that. I just look through that. And so the eye line, it looks like it's right about there, slightly above, but people are used to that. And so there's the teleprompter that I'm reading from. And so, yeah, there you go. And I'll go back and we'll start again, maybe, and I'll get through this. Here we go. It's only 1:15. All right, so you hit the right keyboard and here we go. Hi, Troy W. Hudson, the voiceover with personality. If you're joining me live here on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook, it's Friday, October 3rd, 2025, around 4 o'clock, and I'm in my padded room. My voiceover production studio in Georgia, USA, that I spend quite a bit of time in 5 days a week working on VO projects, video projects, and posting stuff from here on my social media pages as I run and market the media production business that I call my own. I'm getting ready to celebrate the beginning of lucky year 13 as of October 16th, 2012. Cue the dream sequence. October 1st, 13 years and 2 days ago. My boss walks into the Ray Media editing suite on Greystone Boulevard in Columbia, South Carolina, and tells me, "We're shutting things down." I suddenly went from a safe, well-paying job as a commercial video editor and resident of W2 land all my adult working life to suddenly unemployed, a freelancer, looking for work, self-employed. I didn't know what to call myself for about 4 years. Well, I eventually embraced the fear and the challenge of not knowing what to expect and building a business with what I knew, what I could learn, listening to the right folks, working my tail off, and most importantly, having faith in a God who showed me more love, grace, favor, and patience than I ever deserved. Well, about 5 years ago, I started doing a weekly live show I called my Voiceover Weekly Stew, which started in August 2020. I started it primarily to overcome my fear of doing live video and to promote my brand and business. Those early ones were painful. They're still on my YouTube channel if you want to get a good laugh. My knees literally knocking, my voice shaking, but a great learning experience, which later became the biggest adrenaline rush of my week back then. I followed up each weekly show by reading children's stories live during the COVID lockdown time for kids, mostly kids, but also their parents too. On April 16th, 2021, 4.5 years ago, I did my very last live because I was burned out from trying to come up with new ideas to fill 30 minutes that were different from the other shows, which primarily talked about my business, the projects I worked on, and some behind the scene how to's. The show prep was getting more involved, and it was exhausting after a long production week. I felt like I was repeating myself along with the stress of making sure all the moving parts were working. You kind of seen a few of them. Just to make it happen technically. If you've ever done live streaming, you know how stressful this can be. There were some pretty cool moments like doing live giveaways of my branded mugs. I don't know if any of you remember or ever saw. I gave away a bunch of these coffee cup mugs back in the day, Q&A during the stream, and after a few months, I wasn't afraid of hitting that live button anymore. It was just like, okay, here we go again. Out of repetition, out of, just practice, out of comfort. I made a lot of mistakes. There were lots of train wrecks to watch, but I was able to just laugh it off after a while. I also got to use some amazing software called Ecamm Live, which allowed me to broadcast from my home studio. I could add graphics, share screens, browser windows, put in sound effects, do picture-in-picture, show comments live as they came in, which is what I'm using right now, Ecamm Live. All that to say, the more bells and whistles they came up with, the more pressure I felt to keep upping the production, which led to the burnout and eventually stopping and backing away from doing the VO Weekly Stew and going dark on marketing for quite a while. I mean, quite a while. All right, fast forward a couple of years, those booming years, raking in the green. Had taken a hit since I was not marketing. In this business, if you're not being heard, no one knows you have anything to say. Thus is born in late 24. Have you heard? All right, basically I ran out of hands, so seven steps I use to produce the weekly video show. Have you heard? The very first one is scripting. And let me take you to a page that I hope shows up. It showed up. Awesome. So now I'm going to another, that's the picture-in-picture I'm talking about right there. Over here in the corner. Yeah, there we go. I knew starting out, scripting-wise, that was going to be the hardest thing. Whether I was doing a day-to-day calendar show or the phraseology show with the unusual phrases, I knew that doing that, the scripting part was going to be challenging. I can edit, I can tweak, but the thought of pulling the phrases and researching the phrases and putting it all down, that was just, I knew that was going to be too time consuming. So what I ended up doing is experimenting over the last 9 months, experimenting with different AI scripting tools. And I have been through a bunch of them. I'm not paying for any scripting tools, any AI tools, and there's a myriad of them out there. I have tried every one of the mainstream ones that I know of, and I have settled on this buddy right here, Claude.ai. For whatever reason, this gives me the most interesting, the most human sounding, hey, I would write like that, starting point to work from. And I have used ChatGPT. I have used Grok. I have used Google's Gemini. I have used Microsoft Copilot. So I have tried all of these AI tools using various prompts, the same prompt, to finally arrive at the conclusion that most of the time, Claude.ai, if you're looking for the just Claude.ai, if you're looking to try to use it. Let me tell you what's really important in the scripting phase for me. And you're like, well, it takes a lot of time to create a prompt that's going to work. It took me a long, long time to come up with the prompts that would work for the show. And uh, unusual phrases, Claude AI script prompt. The prompt, and I've pulled some of this from other sources, people on YouTube saying, hey, here's a good prompt, or there's a good prompt. And this is what I arrived at, and what I paste into every script or every time I go to Claude or any of the other tools. Prompt is act as a viral content strategist for faceless channels. It doesn't matter if that was there or not. Strange and unusual phrases niche. My goal is to create content that hits 80% retention in the first 30 seconds. Structure, hook, story, revelation, callback, but don't include those captions or visual directions in the script because it can really throw the reading off. Write an entertaining and factual script, no longer than 500 words, about 150 words per minute. So we're talking about a 4-minute-ish script for the weekly show, Have You Heard, featuring unusual, quirky, little-known history, facts, trivia that all focus on 7 crazy or unusual and quirky phrases that are common to most people. Again, I'm feeding it details. The show needs to be fun, positive, factual, interesting, comedic, family-friendly, and all segments must be fact-checked and sourced. And let me talk about that real quick. I ran into so many instances in the scripting phase, especially on the daily events, when I knew that this today was recognized as whatever day, ice cream day, or wear a hat day, or whatever it was, something interesting. Undoubtedly, AI makes, and all this is across the board, AI makes some really horrible factual historical mistakes on content. So I can attest to the fact that you need to check, you need to fact check, you need to verify, you need to Siri it. Hey Siri, is that right? Or my rule generally is 3 different sites. If I'm getting the information on 3 different sites, then I pretty much trust that AI has told me the right dates or the right information. And so yeah, that's what I do. So the rest of it is just kind of telling it to the right page. There we go. 5-second teaser, fact check it, make sure it's sourced, show me where you got it from. Segment 1 is the wackiest phrase for that week's show. Do not include my name in the intro. Start with Have You Heard, along with the teaser, followed by Stay Tuned. I broke this down in so much detail. Again, this took me months to fine-tune this. Short animation opening. Outro should be, that's all. Last thing, I say who I am. Again, I put it all down there, so it just comes out faster and I get it done sooner. All right, so the script analysis, once I feed Claude or ChatGPT or whatever AI tool I'm using to help me with the script, I tell it to analyze engagement, identify weak points, suggest visual and pacing improvements, rewrite the script based on the improvement recommendations. And this was key so it didn't repeat the phrases. And that was, I had to, on each week's show, I do 7. I think I did 9 the first one. But I will put in all of the phrases. You might remember some of these if you watch. Mad as a hatter, barking up the wrong tree, flying off the handle, close but no cigar, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read them all. But there's a bunch of them here. And each week I have to add them, or it could potentially repeat. Again, it is wonderful for getting stuff organized, but you got to help it. I want to hit on real quick is the use of the teleprompter or the iPad, input, speed placement, remotes. This is the best, an Apple Bluetooth keyboard is the best remote I have found for, you can see watch the words. For the words to scroll by, I can adjust speed. I can adjust where it's at. I better not hit these because it'll take me to the end or the beginning. But I can go forward, I can go backwards, I can pause it, I can speed it up, I can make the text bigger. I can make it smaller with the plus and minus key. Great thing if you're sitting here. If you're not sitting in a studio and you want teleprompter control, I have found a little game controller. This little game controller from 8-Bit Duo. This is where I put the glasses on and make sure I read. Yeah, 8-Bit Do, I found, is a great little remote controller for, I put it in my pocket if I'm out in the woods or out on location, and it makes a great remote control, and it won't do it on this one because it's not tied to this one. That would be really confusing. But yeah, that is a handy dandy little device to have. So getting the speed right on the teleprompter is important if you're going to be sitting in a studio or just reading it from your phone. I'll show you that the teleprompter even works on an iPhone. So if I bring up a script, the one I'm getting ready to do, I can scroll through and I can adjust the size, of course. I can adjust the speed. There's a little rabbit in the bottom right and a turtle on the other side, and that is the speed adjustment. And I can basically, it's much easier, obviously, to use the front camera, which is still HD. I know the back camera gives you better quality, but I can't really read off that, if you know what I mean. So the teleprompter on phone, teleprompter on an iPad, very handy to have. Whether you can remember lines or not, it's great, even if you're just hitting note points. Shooting setup, camera, software, and screens. All right, the shooting setup, I kind of told you before. I am looking at the Panasonic Lumix G85 camera. There are tons of different cameras. Sony makes them, Canon makes them. I bought this almost 6 years ago. I think it was 6 years ago. And because it was really good at the time. And in order to get a DSLR kind of camera hooked in and replace the low quality webcams, I think I've got one right here. I'll show you. If your computer doesn't have a camera, you got to go back to the iPhone camera. This is a Logitech C920, I believe, and it just goes directly into the USB port. And those are notoriously low quality to use. So what I ended up going with, I wanted the quality to be right. I wanted to use lights. I do have a video background, so I wanted to use lights. I wanted to use a better quality camera. I wanted to consider my backdrop. In my old studio in Columbia, South Carolina, I had more room, so I was able to put other stuff behind me, which would, if you're familiar with the bokeh effect, where cameras with this particular lens is a 1.7 f-stop, and that allows that fuzzy background, basically, or the bokeh effect. And I had lights and different things behind me and different elements that, associated with the business. In this case, I just got a very tall show display behind me that has my website and the colors and everything like that. Otherwise, it would just be a big black acoustic tile on behind my head, but I can put anything back there. So the camera, the software I use to record when I'm just doing voiceovers is Adobe Audition, and the program I'm using to record video is Ecamm Live. I can also use QuickTime to record video. I discovered because with the new, I'm going to bring you over here just to show you the quality. I'm going to take it off with the new. Don't be afraid. With the I want you to see something. Look at that is the windscreen on my Sennheiser mic. Look at the difference in the color here versus there. Now, this is good. It's okay. But this is a fairly good DSLR camera from 6 years ago. And this is an iPhone 15 camera. Now, this is using the back camera, of course, because it is a bit better. And there are no, I can't show you this, but there are no cables attaching this. This is totally Bluetooth. And look at the green on that. Now, it's not 100% reliable. It has been known to flake out on me, so if it does flip out, I've got, the studio camera I can go back to. But I did a couple of videos. In fact, I did the last show, Have You Heard, using the iPhone camera. And I was amazed at how clean it looked and now the color difference without doing anything else to it. So most of the time on just auto, it's doing phenomenal things. And in a controlled environment like this, excuse me, I've been super impressed. So let me go back to this so I can stop holding this. And see, do I have a good shot here still? Hey, it's still working. Look at that. All right. All right. So go back to this. So camera software screens, again, I'm looking at the main screen here when I'm setting up my video for Have You Heard? And I do the raw recordings here. I used to go to a program called Adobe Premiere, and now I go CapCut. And this is the timeline of CapCut. And let me go to it. There we go. I believe I'm there. And this is the editing timeline where I bring in all the raw footage for CapCut, where I add the graphics overlay for each one of the words that I'm doing, and B-roll. And I want to show you that real quick. It's like, where does this stuff come from? You got B-roll here. You got this was about the whole 9 yards. It was based on coal mining. And I've got a shot of a coal miner. I've got coal. It's like, where do I get that stuff? What you're looking at right now is where I get all my B-roll video footage. It is a site called Envato Elements, ENVATO Elements, or elements.envato.com. Stock video. I have access to stock pictures. I have access to stock music. I have access to all kind of stuff on here. And any of the video you see is going to come from thousands and thousands of clips. That's the source I use for B-roll and graphics and fonts and music. So there's music in the show. That's a great source. I think I pay about $170 a year for access to all of it. And one of the coolest things that is available through the Envato Elements site is a thing called image generator. I type something about, looking for something about Biscotti Day, and you can see all these are just AI generated. Some of them are cartoonish. If I say be photorealistic, it'll stick with this. It'll stick with this. It'll stick with this. It's notorious for making mistakes spelling, so I would never count on it to do that. But you get an idea of just, these are not stock photos. These are just AI generated things, and some of them can be really strange, the way they combine them. Like this is supposed to be a thing about Waffle House and Waffle House, not exactly the right way. It's going to protect logos and copyrights and commercials. Some of the food combos it puts together are frightening and a little stomach turning. But it is what it is. So the more detail, again, you give AI, whether it's scripting or generating an image, the more detail, the better. National Coffee Day, this one I just recently did, and I thought that was the best one to represent National Coffee Day versus, like, what's he doing on the counter there? I take all of those images back into CapCut, and I believe I have to mute it. I'm not going to play audio from it because I get this weird feedback while I'm playing audio and I'm talking at the same time. But essentially, I drop everything in, I generate the graphics, shoot something out in the field so it looked different, and put it in a TV as a transition. And then I would do my sit down on camera stuff that I'm going to show you in just a minute, and then add the graphics later and add the B-roll. And essentially that's what it is. CapCut then allows me to export and upload to the various platforms, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, etc. Again, Facebook and Instagram sometimes. There is the script for 10/3/25. It says intro teaser, and then I advance it. And have you heard? So this is never before, has not been out yet, and I'm going to show you how I actually record, warts and all, the actual show, which I promised after I gave you all the behind the scenes stuff of how I do it. I'm going to bring the mic in a little bit. Make sure I'm set. I'm going to do something else. I can't do that while that's up, but I want to make sure that I have good focus. And I actually do that. There's a screen right there. You can't really see it, but it shows that this is connected as a camera. So the phone is talking to the camera that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, I can keep all this straight. So I click remote operation. And this is what happens because I'm doing this live. You saw that go black and then it went blue and now it's back on me. Okay, that was intentional. So now this could get scary. All right. So I want to move in to make sure the focus is good. The focus is on me. I go back out. Yeah, wasn't that scary, folks? And now I'm going to, because on autofocus, this camera is weird. It would roll in and out on me. So having it on manual focus through the software is the best way to do this. So I'm going to put this back on the stand. And again, if I were not doing this the way I'm doing it, I would probably use the iPhone camera. Oh, and one more thing that I've got to bring in here are, you're going to brand it. Let's brand it right. Okay. All right. We are rolling, going much longer than I thought. That's okay. Here we go. This is the show that is going to air next week. And this is the recording. Have you heard the phrase cold turkey? It turns out it's not leftovers. It's the creepy reason people look like poultry when quitting bad habits. Stay tuned. So that's the intro. The animation would roll. The opening of Have You Heard? Real quick. It's less than 2 seconds because you got to give them quick. All right. These are the 7 phrases. Let's talk about the first one. We're going to chew through 7 of the weirdest phrases we toss around like candy. Number 1 is cold turkey, and the recording goes like this. When people quit something suddenly, they say they went cold turkey. But why poultry? Well, in the early 1900s, doctors noticed addicts who suddenly stopped had clammy skin and goosebumps, eerily similar to an uncooked bird. Imagine telling your friends, sorry, I can't party. I look like Thanksgiving dinner. Appetite lost, but phrase secured. Leave a little pause there at the end so I can transition away. And we're ready for phrase number 2, raining cats and dogs. Picture London. I'm going to go back and do that again because I got an idea for something a little fun. I'll stop the prompter. Again, this would be our edit, obviously, not put this in. Here we go. Picture London, 1600s. Heavy rain pours down narrow streets with terrible drainage. Dead animals, trash, sometimes unlucky strays washed into its gutter. Screwed that up, didn't I? Yeah, let's go back. Raw, baby, raw. Oh, it's good to have editing tools. And I get a lot of work out in CapCut. Here we go. Picture London, 1600s. Heavy rain pours down narrow streets with terrible drainage. Dead animals, trash, sometimes unlucky strays washed into the gutters. To stunned city folk, it really seemed like cats and dogs fell from the sky. Next time it's pouring outside, just be glad it's Labradors and tabbies staying indoors. All right, so number 3, skeletons in the closet. Creepy much? Back in the 1800s, dissecting human bodies was highly restricted. Doctors who wanted to study anatomy sometimes snuck home a skeleton or two, stashing them in literal closets. One nosy neighbor away from a horror movie. Today, instead of illegal skeletons, our closets are just filled with embarrassing selfies. Word number 4. Before Ubers, people relied on horse-drawn carriages, but sometimes the horse wasn't having it, kicking free of the leather harness or traces. Chaos followed, overturned carts, panicked passengers, and a furious driver. So if someone kicks over the traces today, it just means they're rebelling without flattening your groceries. Number 5 word is through thick and thin. This one goes way back. Originally written as thick and thin with ease on the end, it meant trudging with your friend through thick woods and thin open ground. Basically, no matter the terrain, I've got your back. Forget cute friendship bracelets. These 14th century pals pledged loyalty while dodging wolves and mud pits. Hardcore besties. Number 6. Get all of them up there. There we go. We go back. Oh, go back, not forward. There we go. And this will be, where does Butterfingers come from? Okay. Blame old Charles Dickens for this one. In 1836, he roasted a clumsy character as a butter-fingered swain. Let me try that. A butter-fingered swain. The insult stuck faster than, well, butter sliding off toast. The term exploded in Victorian slang, eventually inspiring candy bars. Ooh, one of my favorites. A fun fact, England's cricket commentators loved calling fumbling players butterfingers, probably between tea breaks. Chew the fat is the next one. Sailors at sea often had rations of rock-hard salted pork. It took forever to soften, so they'd gnaw and gossip at the same time. Chewing the fat was literally wasting hours munching and chatting. These days, we get the fun of conversation without needing dentist-strength molars. Call that progress. So those are the 7 phrases, and then I do my outro. And that's all for this week's edition of Have You Heard? Please leave a comment and tell me which was the most surprising, the one you've never heard. I'm Troy W. Hudson, the voiceover with personality. Until next time, stay curious. And the 7 words that you heard on this Have You Heard will appear next week after it's all edited together, like I showed you in CapCut. I'll get some of the elements from Envato. I'll add some music. I'll do some effects. And hopefully this gave you kind of an insight into what goes on